it's Devorah here. Welcome. I hope everyone's having a great day and preparing themselves for the holy Shabbat that is upon us. So I wanted to talk about something that I haven't spoken about in a really long time, and kind of like something that has been coming together for me recently. There's this concept that I feel like is around, that what I do needs to make me feel good. And on some level that's true, right? That what I do needs to make me feel good. I need to love my job, love my relationships. I need to, feel good about everything that I'm involved in and doing. And if something doesn't make me feel good, then I kind of feel like I have to cut it out of my life, or it makes me miserable, or this thing makes me unhappy, and it kind of grabs hold of my inner state and how I feel about my life. What I want to say right now is that there's something very substantial in understanding that not everything that we do in our life needs to feel good. So the reason that I'm sighing is because we want Torah and we want all of our avodah, everything that we're involved in, to make us feel good, to bring results, so make us either feel good on a mental level, and an emotional level, on a spiritual level, obviously, right? That we're going somewhere and we feel like we're evolving and it feels good. We all of us, I think, at this point, feel like we want to grow, we want to evolve, we want to feel good about our lives, and we want to be in a good place. But the things that don't make us feel good, in some way or another, we kind of like cut out of our lives. So the point that I want to make right now and today is that most of the actual process, most of the actual success comes from the daily grind of doing things that don't necessarily feel so good. And that's really important to bring up, because people are so wrapped up in what makes me feel good, and the spirituality of things, and the lovey-doveyness of life, and the chocolate pudding and frosting, and all of the parts of life that make us feel warm and fuzzy on the inside and really connected to God or to people or whatever. And all of that is good. But what's better is to be committed to a certain lifestyle, because and if you don't know, then you go learn, right? That is the truth. And you dedicate your life to being a truthful person. And being a truthful person is asking what the right halacha is, and taking the answer and living by that, even if it's difficult for you. Being a truthful person is not giving yourself shortcuts and just saying this is not comfortable for me, or that's not comfortable for me, or I don't get what that is, so forget that. And a lot of people are doing that. And I do that on some level. And last night, I just want to share something here, that last night I had a conversation with a Rav. And it was a very, very harsh conversation. It was a very difficult conversation to have, because he was basically yelling at me. And before I got on the phone with him, I prayed very much for God to put the right words in his mouth and put the right thoughts in his mind, and that I will accept everything that he tells me. And then he yelled at me. And he yelled at me, and I was so taken aback, how dare you? I'm calling you for halacha. I'm calling you with this life question, and I'm sincere about getting an answer. And how dare you be condescending and put me down, right? That's how I felt. And then I called another Rav, not because I wanted to go Rav shopping, because I needed to speak to another Talmid Chacham and tell him what this Rav said without mentioning any names, and tell him what happened and how I felt about that, and how it felt so wrong to me. I don't think that that's Torah. And he heard and he was like so nice and so sweet and so caring, and everything I told him he like really listened to and responded in just the right way, and it was like so nice for me to be heard, right? And then he explained the halacha to me, and I asked him more questions, and he reviewed it with me, and I said I need more, and he gave me more, and he spent a good 25 minutes on the phone with me. And when I got off the phone, the answer was the same answer that I got from the first Rav, but this was a lot more digestible. And I thought about it, and also a friend of mine, it was interesting because I told this friend about what happened, and she sent me a message, and she said, and it kind of like, I felt it before she actually said it, that from Shamayim, there is halacha, there is din, there is like what's wrong and what's right? The fact that we feel like, life throws us in a million different directions, and we feel more connected to something that's like, nice and sweet and like a different approach and more sugar-coated and whatever, or our emotions make us decide to drop certain mitzvos and decide to drop certain lifestyle, commitments that we've made in our life when we were stronger and we were more learned and we were more dedicated. Just despite all of that, there is what's right and there is what's wrong. There is halacha. There is the way a Jew should live. And the reason that I'm coming across so strong about this is because it's bottom line, and we don't want to fool ourselves our whole life into thinking like, I have to go with what feels right, and this doesn't feel right for me, and this is too stringent for me, or this is too much for me. And I actually spoke to him about something that I'm having a very hard time doing in halacha. Very, very hard time, and there were no shortcuts, and it was like, we're sorry, there's no way around this, and on one hand it was just like, oh shucks, and on the other hand it strengthened me. I felt like I stand for something. I am a representative of God in this world. It's not just about what feels good and doesn't feel good, what feels nice and warm on the inside and what doesn't. It's not just about feels spiritual and what doesn't feel spiritual. It can also feel really spiritual, to go to the beach and to go swimming in a bathing suit and to just like, come out and be free and sit on the beach and like meditate and do yoga. But like, is it truth? So, Parshat Mishpatim, I want to read from something here because it really highlighted this for me this morning, and I want to share it with you. So, here we go. The importance of simple things. Sorry, wrong paper, wrong side. No, that was Parshat Yisro. Here we go. Unconditional commitment. Yeah, that sounds more okay. The people responded, we will do and we will learn everything that God has spoken. By saying we will do, before we will learn, the Jewish people declared that they were prepared to fulfill God's will unconditionally, accepting His commandments, even before they knew what they were. Right? Nasa v'nishma. It is still on the condition of this commitment that God continues to give us the Torah today. For example, revealing Himself and His will to us as we study the Torah and perform its commandments. Meaning it's still on this premise, on this condition that we came out saying, Nasa v'nishma, let me first sign the contract before I read it, okay? That we were deserving of this Torah, of this reality that we don't really grasp unless we're like in it and learning it and understanding it and dedicated to it and committed to the process of it, right? Because the less you learn, the further away you're going to get, right? That's just the way it is. The further away you get from the fire, the colder you'll become, right? So that's really what's going on. That's really what's going on. The reason that people walk away from a lot of previous commitments that they had to avoda, to Torah, to learning, to prayer, to tzniut, to all of that stuff, is because they stopped learning. They forgot what it's about. And there's so much from the outside world that's telling us, come on, what's the big deal with that? Or it doesn't feel wrong, or this doesn't feel wrong, and I feel fine, I feel like I'm in my element. when, I'm in a bar. I feel like I'm in my element when I'm wearing a bathing suit on the beach doing yoga. I feel like I'm in my element. And I know this is very, very harsh what I'm saying right now, but it's the truth. And we got to say the truth. We got to say the truth because we stand for something. We represent so much. And the less commitment I have in what I'm doing, for what I'm doing, the less I'm committed to it, the less I'm going to receive from it. Right? You have a person that's not committed to exercise, and you have a person that is committed to exercise. The results are going to be astounding. Right? Even though the guy that's like, I'm not committed to exercise, but I do I'll lift some weights and I do a few times a week, 20 minutes. That's not commitment. That's nice. That's good. That's healthy. Right? But being committed to a lifestyle of health and a regimen of exercise is not 20 minutes twice a week. Right? So let's get real. So people are like, no, I'm religious. I am, whatever. I keep Shabbos and it's good and it's amazing. But you gotta be plugged into all of it, and that it's not. This is it sounds a little bit too extreme what I'm saying, but I want to say it. I want to say it to the extreme a little bit because it was just like I was spoken to harshly last night. I don't know. It did something to me. It almost brought me back to a place of a reality check. Like, oh right, it's not just about the way you feel, Deborah. What feels right, what doesn't feel right. You're supposed to do the mitzvahs that you're connected to and that you feel connected to, and you're supposed to do the mitzvahs that you don't feel so connected to. Like kashrus, a lot of people don't feel so connected to keeping kosher. They don't feel so connected to, okay, if the spoon fell in this, who cares? It's not going to make a difference in the long. I'm a good person, right? But we're talking about things we're not just talking about being a good person. We're talking about being connected to God and being a Torah Jew. Which people that have learned in their lives know that means a lot more than being a good person. So let's just continue. Conventional thinking may deem it irrational to commit oneself to a contract before the terms of the contract are spelled out. And we can indeed connect to God as He reveals Himself within creation without first committing ourselves to doing whatever He wants. Right? There's a way to connect to Hashem, to God, without first keeping all of Torah. There are a lot of people that I know that are not tzniut, and that they're not covering their hair, and that they're not eating exactly kosher and whatever. They're very spiritual beings, and they're very connected to God, and they're very connected to the Jewish people. But the only way we can connect to God Himself as He is beyond creation and rationality is by likewise rising above the limits of rationality. Therefore, nowadays, just as when the Torah was first given, the way we connect with God Himself is by devoting ourselves to His Torah unconditionally. Unconditionally. So, let's say you don't connect to something and you don't want to do something, or you want to stop doing something. My advice would be to start learning about it. Start learning about the beauty of it. Start learning about the to'elis of it, the where it's going to bring you, what it's doing for you, how it's benefiting you, changing your whole outlook on that mitzvah, as opposed to dropping it and walking away. Because what happens when we drop it and walk away is that we will get further and further away from the fire. And the point is in life is to get closer and closer to the fire. So if you're doing mitzvot and you're not happy about it, start learning about it. Start learning about it, because there's always a cop-out way. And the cop-out way is, I don't feel it, I don't have time, I'm not connecting, it's not a big deal if I don't do this and I don't do that. We all think that way. You're not alone. I think that way, and everyone thinks that way. And this rabbi that I was talking to, the second one that was so sweet and so amazing and so kind, he told me the same thing. He said, you don't think that when I go on vacation I want to wear a polo shirt and just hang out in my jeans but that's not right for me, right? I represent something, and even though it was such a for a lot of people listening to this, I'm sure it's come on, what's the big deal? That shouldn't be spirituality, but for him on his level, it is, right? It is. There's a certain standard. So I give us all a bracha that this week, this Parsha, this Mishpatim, because it's all about the laws and regulations. It's not about the spirituality and the connection. It's all about the laws and regulations. Mishpatim, the whole thing is about God. They had a gigantic experience on Har Sinai last week, right? Parshat Yitro. And now they move into right away. They move into a place of do's and don't do's. What's right? What's wrong? If you destroy someone's, flower patch, now how much do you have to pay him? How much do you have to? What do you owe him? Details, because our growth is all about details. And our experience here is all about the details. And if you want to get anywhere in your life, you know that it always happens behind the curtains. It always happens when you're not on the stage. What happens when you are on the stage, what happens when you're running the race, that's all a result of what happened behind the scenes. The daily grind, the work, the sweat, the blood, the tears that you invest into yourself, into your business, into whatever it is that you're doing. And what happens when you're on stage or when you're performing, that's all a result of what happens behind closed doors. So that's what this week is. That's what this Parsha is. So the energy of this week is, let's reconnect back to Torah, to halacha, to doing the things that are hard for us to do, and doing them because that's who we are. We signed up before we knew the terms of the contract. And understanding that there's something very, very deep about that, about being a person that is dedicated to the work, dedicated to the truth, and in the process, in the interim, learning and being inspired about what it is that I'm doing, why I'm doing that, if it's covering my hair, if it's wearing long skirts, if it's putting on tefillin, if it's not speaking Lashon Hara, if it's eating kosher food, if it's keeping Shabbat, dedicating my part of my life to learning about what it is that's so gigantic about that, that's so incredible about that, that's so real about that, right? Not throwing the bathwater with the baby in it, the baby with the bathwater. Not getting rid of all of it because it doesn't feel right. We have to be careful not to live from here, but to make sure that our minds are guiding us. And obviously also listen to our hearts. But the reason that our brains are on top of our hearts, and it's situated that way in our body also, is because bottom line, we have to go with our minds and what is right and what is logical. And right now, it's not right to eat this cheesecake even though I'm in a down, I'm really down. And it's not right because I'm on a path and I'm on a course, I'm going somewhere, I want to do something, right? It's not right to just throw it all away because I'm having a bad day. Right? Throw it all away in my business, or throw it all away in my physical state, or throw it all away in my spiritual state. Right? It's important to remember that we as Jews are only going to be privy to spirituality, to Mashiach, to connection with Torah, to real inspiration on the inside when we are connected to the laws. And there really is no loophole. Have a beautiful Shabbos. Thanks for listening. Bye.